Welcome to our session today, Designing Exemplary Online Courses in Blackboard. I'm Jason Rohde with the Faculty Development and Instructional Design Center at Northern Illinois University, and I'm so pleased to have all of you with us for today's session, whether you are participating live during our online workshop that we're offering today, or if you are viewing the archive of our session. Either way, we're really pleased to have you with us. Like I said, my name is Jason, and I'm with the Faculty Development and Instructional Design Center here at Northern Illinois University. And I'd encourage you to reach out if you have questions. At the end of the session, I'll have my contact information again there for you if you'd like to follow up and talk further about any of these concepts that we'll be talking about here today in terms of designing an exemplary online course in Blackboard. This workshop really has come about partly in kind of my own interest in sharing my journey over this past semester in following Blackboard's Exemplary Course Program, Rubric, as I've developed and taught for the first time a course here at NIU. And I'm going to share more about that course with you in a little bit. Really our goal today is to talk about what constitutes a high-quality course that is taught using Blackboard. And this could be a fully online course, but it could be a wide range of other types of web-enhanced courses or blended courses. Here at NIU, we have a wide spectrum of delivery modalities when it comes to using online technology like Blackboard in teaching. And so you may be teaching a course that's primarily face-to-face, but you're using Blackboard to kind of enhance the course, whether you're posting grades or providing resources to students. Or you could be way on the other end of the spectrum and you're interested in teaching a fully online course. No matter where you are in that spectrum, I think you'll find something of value from today's session. The principles that we talk about today should be applicable wherever you find yourself in that spectrum of delivery. And so my hope today is to talk about and really focus on best practices, things that you can apply immediately into your own teaching. And along the way, I'm going to share with you in particular a sample course and some very specific examples from my own experience, but along the way share also some practical tips and show you where you can go to find other samples and other suggestions kind of in your own teaching of courses and developing courses using Blackboard. So as we got started here this morning, and I threw out a question for those of you that logged in early, looking at, in your own opinion, what constitutes a high quality online course? If we think about that term quality online, what does that mean? And several of you made some great points, and I'm just kind of, as I scan through our text chat here, there was conversation about interaction, about collaboration, about having clear learning objectives, chunked learning content, materials that are accessible, active participation, effective assessment, all wonderful things and lofty goals. Things that, whether it's in our face-to-face teaching or online, I think these would all be attributes that I think we would all want to aspire to. And so really at the heart of this particular workshop today is how do we translate those aspects of quality into an online experience, into an online course? How do we set that up in Blackboard in real practical, tangible terms? And Blackboard, to try and help facilitate faculty being able to create high quality experiences, developed the Blackboard Catalyst program. And this was a program that started back in 2000, so it's not a new program by any means. But really it has morphed and evolved over the years with the expressed purpose of honoring those who push the boundaries of their educational programs and technology in order to deliver innovative and effective learning experiences. And the Catalyst program, Blackboard Catalyst Award program, has a variety of different pieces to it. We're going to focus today on the Exemplary Course Award program. And this is really designed and focused for faculty to provide a mechanism where faculty can be recognized for developing exciting and innovative courses that represent the very best in technology and learning. So a lot of the best practices that were mentioned in our text chat, those are some of the items certainly that are expected to be included in what would be deemed an exemplary course. But there are some other award categories that are listed here on the slide, such as the Staff Development Award that's really geared for departments, individuals, those who support and enhance faculty and professional development skills. And I'm proud to say that our Faculty Development and Instructional Design Center has won actually several Staff Development Awards from Blackboard for some of our initiatives in support of online teaching and learning. There's also a Student Impact Award. This is a brand new category this year that is focused on initiatives that are really geared at successfully increasing levels of student engagement or retention. And so this could be at the department level, the program level, the institution level, and just another way of recognizing the innovative practices that institutions are engaging to try and really engage students more in the learning process. And then there's finally an Innovation Award, and this is kind of a catch-all in some respects, where something that's outside of the box, that's new, that's innovative, can be recognized. And there are a lot of examples of the types of innovations that would fall into that category. Our focus today is certainly going to be on the Exemplary Course Program. And you can find information at blackboard.com/ECP, which stands for the Exemplary Course Program. So everything I'm going to share with you in terms of resources, the links, if you hunt long enough, you'll find them on this Blackboard Exemplary Course Program page. And like I said, I'm going to mention these links briefly today, and I'll also include those in the follow-up email for those of you that are registered and participating live today. So this program, like I said, was set up really geared to recognize and empower faculty to develop high-quality online courses. And a key component of this program is the Exemplary Course Program Rubric. And this is really going to be our guide for today. This was a set of standards that has developed and evolved over the years based on both research in the field of online learning as well as best practices. And this rubric is used for evaluating courses, online courses or hybrid courses that are developed in Blackboard using 4 key areas. And those are course design, interaction and collaboration, assessment, and learner support. And there is a link to this rubric. You can download it directly from the Blackboard Exemplary Course Program site. And again, I'll be sure to get the link to you in the follow-up email as well. The rubric looks something like this, and it breaks down those key major areas into some subcategories. And for each category of the rubric, there are detailed descriptions of kind of best practices. So you can see the different categories ranging from exemplary down to incomplete. And given the fact that this rubric was initially intended to be used in evaluating courses that have been nominated to be awarded as exemplary courses, that's really how this rubric is kind of fleshed out. But it's a fantastic tool for faculty to use in developing their own courses as a guide for some best practices to follow. And that's kind of how we're going to make use of the rubric today during the session. So I mentioned those 4 key areas. So the first being course design. And so this aspect of the rubric is really looking at some of the elements of instructional design, including things like the structure of the course, how you have things organized, looking at the learning objectives that you have specified, the way the content is organized, and the types of instructional strategies that you've selected. And we could spend a workshop on each of these specific items because they're each very important to the overall success of a course. And then that second key area is in regards to interaction and collaboration. And we had a conversation in the text chat before the workshop, and Christina so eloquently drew this distinction here for me already between interaction and collaboration. Sometimes we use these terms interchangeably, but interaction really is dealing with all aspects of communication that happens between and among learners, as well as instructors. And this could be synchronously, like we're having today, participating live in this session online, or it could be asynchronously, using a variety of different tools and technologies that allow the conversation to be time-shifted and happen in a more flexible manner. And the term collaboration, on the other hand, is a subset of interaction that refers specifically to the activities in where you have groups working independently toward a shared result. So those group members, they're working toward developing some kind of a deliverable or a process or experience that they're all having a vested interest in making happen. And using and employing both interaction and collaboration into an online course, the goal is to develop a learning community. This is really a sense of belonging that would exist to the group, so that a student, rather than feeling like they're studying independently, that they're really feeling like they're a part of a group, of a community, if you will, of learners in the online space. And this is easier to do sometimes in a face-to-face classroom, right, because we're meeting physically. When you move some of these experiences online, in order to develop that same sense of community or belonging, you have to be more intentional, and there are certainly many successful approaches to fostering that level of community. Now the third kind of core area of the rubric looks at assessment, and there's several different subcategories here, but focusing on the instructional activities that are designed to help measure progress towards learning outcomes, and then also looking at different mechanisms that are available for providing feedback to students. Also, do students have the opportunity to provide feedback to the instructor? And how does assessment help enable the grade assignment for the class? How are those assessments being used to measure student performance? And then finally, the fourth key area is learner support. And this looks at the types of resources that are made available to the students taking the course. Now, these need not necessarily be provided, the resources that is by the instructor or by even the program. These could be institutional resources that you're simply linking students to, providing information to them about, and making sure that there's a variety of support services that are addressed. And we often do this in our syllabus, where we provide information where students can get assistance from, for example, the Writing Center or Career Services or a variety of different units on campus. And it's possible, certainly in an online course, to have that same level of information and links to those websites and so forth, so that they're right at the fingertips of your students. So those are the four major areas that we just talked about: course design, interaction and collaboration, assessment, and learner support. And you can see those represented by the large circles here in this diagram. And then beneath, you see a number of bullets, and these are the subcategories that the rubric addresses. And I'm not going to read these to you, but you can get a sense of some of the specific areas that are pointed out and are listed within the rubric. And because I'm going to be providing you, again, a link to the rubric, it's not important right now that you jot these down, just that you understand that there are very specific items that I think any online course, whether it's fully online or some type of a hybrid or blended course or just in a web-enhanced course, there are aspects of these subcategories that I think apply to any course. And rather than go through the rubric in detail, we're going to talk more specifics and give you some practical examples. So what I thought I would do today is share with you a little bit of my story. So in addition to my role here in faculty development at NIU, I also teach as an adjunct, and I had an opportunity this fall to teach for the first time a course in our Department of Educational Technology, Research and Assessment in the Technology Specialist Online Cohort Program. So this is the course was ETT 510, Instructional Media and Technology. And this is a required course in a graduate level program for in-service teachers in instructional technology. And this is a course that has been taught actually for many years it's not a new course to our curriculum here at NIU, but it hasn't been taught in this accelerated fashion in Blackboard within this cohort model before. It had been taught in Moodle previously and by several different faculty. And so when I was asked to teach the course, it was the first time that this course would be taught in Blackboard. It was also the very first course in this program, this cohort program that was being moved from previously Moodle to Blackboard. So I saw it as a great opportunity for me to take an existing syllabus and set of course objectives and so forth and kind of re-envision how it might be developed in a Blackboard environment using the Blackboard tools. And so this course was a 10-week course. So it's an accelerated course that took place online. It was fully online. We did, however, have an initial face-to-face meeting, kind of an orientation, because this was a cohort program. So the students were meeting together for the first time, and I had the opportunity to meet with the students for about an hour and a half at that initial orientation to go over an introduction to Blackboard and to the course and kind of make those initial acquaintances with the students. And then from that point forward, the course was fully online. And this past fall, in fact, I just finished submitting grades over the weekend, developed and taught this course for the first time in Blackboard. So it's very fresh in my mind, certainly in terms of course content and structure and so forth. And my goal in developing this course was to try and follow the Blackboard Exemplary Course Program rubric in hopes of submitting this course to be considered as an exemplary course. And I also wanted to develop this course in such a way that I could then make it available to any NIU faculty who would like to perhaps be enrolled in the course, just to see an example of how you might structure a course following the Exemplary Course Program rubric. So you all have the opportunity, if you'd like to be enrolled in the course, to shoot me an email. I can actually enroll you in this course. It's a version of the course with no student data, but all the content, the structure is there so that you can take a look around. So I'll have more details on this as we get to the end of the workshop today. Unfortunately, I can only do this currently for NIU faculty. If you're not an NIU faculty member, for those that are viewing the archive on YouTube or somewhere else online, you at this point won't be able to get in and take a look at the course. However, if it is awarded the exemplary course standard, I think I'll have an opportunity to make that available on a more wide and broad basis. So what I'm going to do today is kind of for the rest of our session is walk through this course a little bit with you. And I've taken a series of screenshots to make sure that everyone is able to kind of see the different aspects of the course. And again, I can make this available and you can actually log in yourself and take a look around in Blackboard kind of at your convenience. But I think that might be more helpful than just talking through a rubric, is actually seeing some examples. And I do want to give a disclaimer here that this is not the only way to develop an online course. This is just what I felt worked best for me and for this particular course content and kind of course structure that I was working with. So every course is different, but certainly there are principles that would apply to every course. So don't look at this as being the way you have to develop your course or your course has to look when all is said and done. It's really just up to you. I'm going to show you, though, just practical examples of how you can apply some of the required standards for quality that the rubric does include. So this is a look at the front page of the course. You can get a sense of the kind of the entry page, if you will, when students access the course. And what I'm going to do is now, as I walk through the course, I've kind of broken down some of the key subcategory attributes that I'm going to highlight. So I'm going to look at some aspects of course design. We'll look at a few areas that would fall under that interaction and collaboration piece. We'll talk a little bit about the assessment and also mention very briefly a few of the learner support resources and links that I've tried to include. So, and I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible, again, given our short amount of time again, those of you NIU faculty, you'll be able to get in and look around the course in greater detail. And I'm happy after today's session to also follow up and discuss further for whoever's interested. So I mentioned again the front page of the course, and what I did here is I created a welcome page. I called it Welcome Start Here, but the idea being when a student comes into the course for the first time, to give them some of the info up front that they need to get a sense of what the course is about and to get a sense of things. So this particular course, students had the opportunity to access it even before the first face-to-face meeting. And it's been my experience in having taught online now for over a decade, the feedback I get from students is that the more self-explanatory I can make the content in the course, and the fewer questions that they have initially, it seems to increase their level of satisfaction in the course. And so having some kind of a welcome, and I've done this a variety of different ways over the years, but this particular example, I just had a content area that I called Welcome Start Here, and there was some information here for the students. So you can see up front the course description, the course overview was all right here front and center for the students. I did also put under Getting Started, what should they do as they want to get started in this course? Where do they click? What do they take a look at? You'll notice that I did include right on the front page, the course learning objectives are right there for the students to see. I also included the meeting dates. So I wanted to list for the students, we did have a face-to-face meeting I mentioned as part of the orientation. So I had that information listed. We did also have some required synchronous online meetings where we met online in a room just like this and had a virtual class meeting. So those dates and times were listed. So students had that information right at their fingertips. Also right here was my contact information so they could get in touch with me, as well as the contact info for the online support person within the Department of Educational Technology, Research and Assessment, who was going to be the point person for support kinds of questions that students might have. And different departments may have different individuals that they want to point their students toward for that kind of student support aspect of the course. But so this was my kind of front page, and by students, when they came into the course, they saw this, or if they clicked the Welcome Start Here link in the course menu, this page would appear and they would see this. After the course started, I went and set the announcements page, which is the second link in my menu, to be that course entry point. And I'll share that with you in a little bit. So another aspect of the rubric states that goals and objectives need to be easily located. And so I mentioned that I had them right on the front page, but I also created an area in my course. I called it Overview, was what I called this menu item. And I'll try to make sure I mention what these are called if the font is too small in the screenshot to see. So this is called Overview, and this is really where I had information for the students. I had a downloadable, printable version of the syllabus. I created a one-page, what I call the course quick guide, where the students could see kind of in a one-page grid what was due when throughout the course. And then right here, they could also see the course overview and objectives, and those were listed here for the students to easily locate those. And again, these are also available right within the front page. So when they welcomed, when they came into the course and they hit that welcome, that Start Here page, they could see those learning objectives right there as well. So I tried to make them as readily available to the students as possible. There was a comment earlier before our session started about chunking the content and having it chunked into manageable segments. And I think this is really important. For this course, I called these chunks units. And so I had a content item in my menu that I called units. And I had a folder for each of those units. Now in this particular program, students are expected to keep Thursday nights available for synchronous class meetings. And so I set the unit to span from basically Thursday to Thursday, so it was a full week. And I did that so that basically during those scheduled synchronous class meetings, we could wrap up any questions or conversations from the previous week, as well as then set the expectations and provide any instructions that might be needed for the upcoming week's worth of activities. So units spanned a Thursday to Thursday time frame. And you can see that each of the folders, there was a consistent structure. So the title was the name of the unit, and I put the dates right there in the title. I did that so that students, if they were accessing this course from a mobile device, when you look at folders on the mobile app, you basically don't see all of the text initially in the description. You see the title link. So I wanted to put the unit number and the date so that the students could get inside to what they needed to access very quickly. So for each folder, I listed in the description then the topics and then the objectives for that particular unit. And you'll notice here that I have the units listed in reverse chronological order, with Unit 10 being at the top and moving down with Unit 1 would be down at the bottom. The reason I did this is that as we progress through the course, the students would expect and wouldn't need to scroll to the bottom to get to the newest content. They could always see front and center at the top the most the current content that they needed to get access to. So the chunking was consistent. And you'll notice that each course, each unit folder has the topic. If there was a class session, if it was synchronous or asynchronous, that's listed, and then the objectives is there as well. So there's definitely some consistency in how I tried to chunk things. And then inside the folder, so when the students click on, for example, the Unit 1 link, and they go inside of that folder, I spent some time and thought through what I wanted the unit folders, the content, to consist of. And so I was purposeful in including, for example, an overview. So I had a sentence or two that was a description of what were we going to accomplish in the course. The objectives for that particular unit were here. So these aren't necessarily the course objectives. These are sub-objectives, if you will, specific to the learning that would take place in this particular unit. Then I listed information about any readings or resources that would be required of the students. And so this is where students could actually go in and they could access the content. If I had things for them to read, the textbook chapter was described here, as well as links to other additional resources. And then the activities or assignments that they would need to complete in this particular unit were listed. So they were described, and then the links to actually complete them were found inside of this folder. So by clicking on the activities and assignments link right here, students could go inside and they could then complete the various activities that were assigned to them. I tried to make the navigation intuitive for the students. So this first section of the navigation was really kind of that static overview information. So the welcome start here. I had an announcements area that was devoted to providing course news and updates. The social connections, I had some information where they could learn about their instructor as well as their classmates. Then moving down, I included just this section here of the menu had just general course content, activities, and assessment links for the students. So there was an overview, a link to the calendar, readings for the course, the units, of course, as I already mentioned, information about the assignments, and then any supplemental resources. Then this next section was really set up to have interaction. So the links to the interactive activities, information about the online meetings that we would have, the discussions that would take place, and then a link to email. Either the students could email one another or me as the faculty. Then this next section down here was really devoted to reflection, feedback, and self-paced assistance. So there was a My Journal where the students were expected to actually journal their experience in the course. A My Grades area where the students could track their progress in the course. And then this cohort had a resource page where the students could go to access information about the cohort, that experience that was there, as well as a link to learner support, where they could get the assistance that they needed in terms of learner support. Then finally, this course did have a substantial amount of group work, and so the students could access their group down here in the the group area, whichever group they were assigned to was available here. Now this navigation, we tried in this program, we're trying to make the navigation consistent among all of the courses. So as students progress through the cohort program and they go from course to course, there'll be a consistent structure for each of the courses, and so they'll become accustomed to where they can go to find the particular information or engage in the activities as they're set up. And this is always a good idea for a department, for a program, to think about and to present a consistent navigation and structure organizationally for the courses. Like I said, students, because you're not going to be, and you may or may not be meeting face-to-face with the students, to provide an intuitive navigation, I think is key and is an aspect of the exemplary course rubric, because I think that helps remove some of the questions and helps students be more successful in finding the information or support that they're looking for. Now another aspect of the rubric is that content flow in a logical progression, and I tried to structure content and particular items that I thought students would need easy access to. So for example, the readings and resources aspect of the course. For students that wanted to read ahead or have access to all of the resources, I tried to make them all available immediately once the course became available. So I made the unit folders available kind of in progression as we went through the course, but students could access all the readings at any time. And so here you can see that the readings were broken down by unit, and in the description here, they're listed. So we have the textbook readings, and then every unit I tried to provide some additional resources for the students. So they're described here. When students click on the title of the folder to go inside the folder, that's where they would then access the PDFs or links to resources if it's a YouTube video or something like that. And I tried to use a variety of mechanisms for sharing the content. So within readings, there were PDFs and there were some supplementary video clips, things that I found on YouTube. But I did also experiment. For example, I created a learning module, and this is an example of a learning module here inside of Blackboard, where you can notice it looks like a page of content. You can have, for example, this page of this learning module has a diagram. There's text above and below, and it's sequenced. So you'll notice this, you may or may not be able to read this text, but it says page 2 of 15. And so this is set up and sequenced in such a way that the students could progress through this content in a sequenced manner, and almost like an online textbook or resource that they would kind of read in sequence and come back to it. And this is content from a website that was just structured in such a way that the students could view it directly within a course. So this is an example of a different approach to presenting content for students. And you can certainly include visual and auditory elements. So something I tried to do is to look at not only providing the links to like a PDF, but finding some other resources. So this particular unit, we were looking at something called a force field analysis, and somebody on YouTube had done a video using the Star Wars figures and the metaphor of the Force that is in the Star Wars trilogy to help explain what force field analysis was. And so I embedded for each unit some supplementary multimedia resources that students could view kind of on their own. And so they can view this by clicking this play button right here. They can play this directly within the Blackboard course right here. And you'll notice for each of these, there's an option beneath it that says Mark Reviewed. This is a feature in Blackboard that you can enable where the students can, in essence, keep track of what they've looked at, what they've read, and taken a look at. These are also set up as hyperlinks so the students can click on it and it can open outside of Blackboard if they wanted to view it, for example, in YouTube outside of the course environment here. But this is another aspect of the exemplary course rubric, is to have content that in some way is enhanced with different visual or auditory elements. Now throughout the course, the exemplary course rubric looks for guidance to be provided for learners on how they're going to work with the content. So this is the aspect of teaching presence in the course, and there's lots of different ways to do this, where you as the faculty member are guiding the student experience, and this is what makes the course feel alive and gives that feeling that you as the instructor are in charge or leading the course. Just like in the face-to-face class, you're up in front kind of guiding that learning experience. And so what I did in this particular course is for each of my units, recorded a quick little introduction to the unit, and simply used the free webcam built into my computer and recorded this on YouTube and put it directly within my unit. So this unit welcome is here for the students. They can view this, and this is my opportunity each week for them to hear from me, and not just read it, but be able to hear from me, for me to be able to kind of address where we're at as a class and to guide them their experience, to give some expectations and set up the rest of the unit in terms of what we're going to be accomplishing together. And you don't have to use video to do this. There's lots of different ways to provide this kind of guidance. But I think it's key that somehow the students are getting a sense that you are there providing that guidance for students as they progress through the content. The exemplary course rubric also calls for using tools that are available within the LMS to help engage students in course content. And one of the great new tools in Blackboard that I found really helpful and easy to use was the calendar tool. And when you set up either graded discussions or assignments of many different kinds, when you select those kinds of assessments and you make them available in your course, you can set what's called a due date. And when you do that, they are added then to the calendar that you have within the course. So students can go in, and because we had a calendar link, because I placed a calendar link directly in the course menu, it was then easy for the students. They could go to the calendar and they could see kind of what was coming up, what was going to be due, and for each separate activity, they could click on that particular item in the calendar to actually go right to that assignment. If it was something they needed to submit, they could do it right from the calendar in Blackboard. And it was a really great way of kind of pulling together the different tools that I used in the course. Something else that I tried, and this wasn't specifically Blackboard related, but something I wanted to experiment with, which actually worked really well, was to set up a YouTube channel, an unlisted YouTube channel, where I added all of the clips that I recorded of myself, as well as some of the other supplemental videos. And I made this available to the students. So they could access all of the video content for the course outside of Blackboard. If they wanted to view it on their smartphone or tablet, these were all videos that they could get to without having necessarily to log in through Blackboard. It was just another way of making the content available to the students. And you can see in this example, there's a couple of clips here initially of me, my course welcome and intro to Unit 1, and then some of the video content that I shared in Unit 1 I also added to this playlist. So it was kind of a single place they could go to access all the videos, again, that were made available in the course. I did my best to try and make use of low-cost or no-cost materials whenever they were available. And so here you can see an example. We were talking about Bloom's taxonomy in this particular unit, and there was a video someone had made which explained Bloom's taxonomy according to Pirates of the Caribbean. And so it was just another way of trying to drive home a concept and make it available for students to view in maybe a different way. And it's interesting that students in their feedback on the course, they commented on these kinds of supplemental resources and how helpful they were in solidifying their understanding, where it took some concepts that maybe were a little more dry, if you will, based on how they were shared maybe through the textbook. And this really helped in a more visual and sometimes even comical way help reiterate those concepts for the students. And you can certainly, there are ways in Blackboard to easily find freely available video clips and such that students can access directly within the course. The exemplary course rubric calls for plentiful opportunities for synchronous and or asynchronous interaction. And so I made use of the discussion board as well as several other asynchronous tools in the course. There's lots of ways that you can engage students either synchronously, meaning having real-time classroom online sessions, or going with a more asynchronous approach. Again, the choice is really yours. When it comes to the asynchronous communication, I looked for ways to try to promote critical reflection. And so in my discussions, there's a tool, the ability in Blackboard to set up what's called a post-first discussion. Whereas before the students can actually respond to this question, this discussion question, they have to post their own thread, their own idea first. And so here's an example of our Unit 4 discussion forum. And you'll notice there's this create thread button here that the students had to click and then post their own, make their own posting before they would see the posts from others. Now, something you can do, and something I found really helpful to try, was to give the students some options for the types of discussion questions that they could choose from. So I gave them some question options, and I had them pick one of the options. So it's almost kind of like that choose your own adventure. Those of you that might remember those kind of stories where you would kind of pick and see how the story ended. It gave that type of an aspect to our discussions because we had different students picking different questions to respond to, and then having opportunities to then engage with one another, looking at some of these different applications of the material. And I tried to make the discussions more application and synthesis evaluation type questions, where it wasn't just regurgitating facts, but it was more of how do you apply these concepts into a particular scenario, where they could critically reflect on the concepts and think about how they would apply them into their context. Something else that I incorporated, this course had a required reflection paper at the end of the course. It's something that was expected that I include based on the syllabus I was provided. And so something I incorporated in was a self-assessment reflection journal. And so this was a journal that I asked the students each week to post to throughout the 10-week course. So they each week posted, and it was sometimes just a paragraph or two, but this was their chance to reflect for that week on what they learned, and for me to get a pulse on some of their key takeaways, their aha moments, if you will, in the course. And I could provide private feedback directly to them using the journal interface and the commenting feature that's here. So I had a single journal they posted to repeatedly throughout the course, and then at the end of the course, as they sat down to write their reflection paper, they could go through and kind of reflect metacognitively, if you will, back on all of their reflections that they posted throughout the course. And students commented they found this really helpful in being able to get a sense of kind of their journey through the course. I did, as I mentioned earlier, there were required synchronous communication activities, and this is a screenshot of one of our live synchronous online class meetings that we had, where students logged in. We had conversations, small group work. One meeting, students gave group projects. Each group gave a presentation. So you can certainly have that same dynamic like you would in a face-to-face class. You can have that same kind of live classroom experience. You can build that in online. We looked for different ways to try and create a sense of community. I talked about this earlier. So something that I did was we had students submit the first week a student profile. We used the blog tool in Blackboard, and students went ahead and they posted a quick profile where they shared a little bit about themselves, a picture, and it really helped develop a sense of community throughout the course. And for this cohort of students now, as they continue through the program, they have this community that they've developed that they can continue to work through. There was student-to-student interaction required throughout the course, and this is a staple of the Exemplary Course Program, is that there be required student-to-student interactions. And there were collaborative activities that reinforced the learning outcomes. And so we provided there was a group project that actually was completed in phases throughout the course. And students, they turned this in phases, and it was very much driven, and it was one of the key assessments in measuring their level of attainment of the course objectives that we had for this particular course. And for every assignment, I tried to provide very clear guidelines for explaining the levels of participation. So what was expected, and there's different ways to do this. I tried to provide a rubric for each assignment so students could see what they were expected to do. This course, I had them exploring some different technology tools. They would go out, they would explore something, and they would share what they learned and share an example of something they created with a particular tool. So there were very clear expectations of what they needed to complete and how they needed to complete that. And what they did is then they would post those and share their explorations using a blog tool in Blackboard. So here's an example of one of the media exploration activities they did. You can see that there were clear instructions for the students as well as a rubric provided, and they could see exactly how they would be assessed in the course. In Blackboard, you can set up grading using a rubric, and I know this is hard to see on the slides, but the students could view the rubric right here as well and see exactly how they were graded. And that's how I graded their submissions. I went to the rubric and I used the interactive rubric tool to grade their submissions. I did my best to try and participate throughout the course and provide feedback to the students. For example, I included using video. Here's an example of providing students with some instructions in a video they could actually watch directly from within a discussion board. And I mentioned the announcements tool. In Blackboard, you have the announcements tool, and this is a great way of giving the students updates or communicating with them any news-related type of items for your course. You can have text, you can include video, and this is a great way of archiving those information items so students can access them throughout the course. The exemplary course rubric calls for clearly and sufficient detail for for instructions that are provided. And so in Blackboard, when you post assignments for students to complete, this is a blog assignment where there's instructions that students can see, as well as even you can put in a rubric right here that they can access and they can take a look at what's expected before they post to that particular assignment. Throughout the course, the rubric calls for assessment activities that occur frequently, so it gives you opportunities to provide feedback to students throughout the course, and I gave them a template, a table if you will, that shows the whole. Here you can see all 10 units and kind of the breakdown of the different activities and what the point values were as I assigned them for the course. So I did try to use multiple types of assessments, and if you look through the course, if you request access, you can see some of the different kinds of assessments that I used. I did provide some self-assessment opportunities. So I mentioned this, there was a self-assessment reflection paper at the end of the course that students completed, that they did self-assess their progress, but I did also have them self-assess the course a couple different ways. There was contact information provided for the students. There was a Your Instructor link in the course menu, so when they clicked on it, they could see my contact info, background info, and kind of how they could get in touch with me and so forth. The exemplary course rubric calls for links to institutional policies, and so I put in the overview information things like late work policy, incomplete policy, academic integrity policy. These are all items that you want to provide to your students so they can see that. I wanted to make sure that course materials were accessible, so for each video, you'll notice that there is attached a transcript of the video. I also captioned the videos I created. I was able to use YouTube's free built-in captioning tool to caption those, and students can view those with the captions on. So if you take a look in my course, you'll be able to see these videos, and you can click this CC button to see the captions that are provided there for the students. The rubric calls for supportive mechanisms for learners with disabilities, and this is something, I had a student reach out to me that had a learning disability and expressed a challenge in participating in the written discussions, and so I enabled the video option for the discussions, and you can do this in Blackboard where you can give students the permission, and this is what I did, to respond to a discussion question in a video rather than just text. And this student found this extremely helpful as he proceeded through the course and really appreciated that option. Several other students actually took me up on the option of using the video feature in Blackboard, and this is something I look to share more about in a future workshop. Learners did have the opportunity to give feedback on the course design, so I built in, had a survey at the middle point of the course as well as an end of course survey that I had students complete to give some feedback. So that gives you a snapshot of the course and kind of my experience. So where can you go to find some more information? Well, you can view exemplary course tours. The winners of Blackboard's Exemplary Course Award from last year, many of them have shared tours on YouTube that you can go and view to see more examples of courses that they've completed. There is an Exemplary Course Program Winners Gallery where you can enroll in several other exemplary courses. And this is a great place to go to see what some other faculty, just like you, have done and have been awarded exemplary, recognized as exemplary courses. You do also have the option, if you would like, to actually volunteer to be an exemplary course reviewer. This is a great way to explore more in depth some other online courses. And you can not only kind of share your experience, but you can learn more, see what other faculty are doing. And it's another great way to see more examples and get ideas. I've gone ahead and I'm planning to volunteer to be a reviewer this year to see what other faculty are doing, and certainly would encourage you to take a look at that as well. If you'd like to see, those of you that are NIU faculty and you'd like to get access to this course I've shared with you today, just send me an email and I will be able to provide you that access. So as we're wrapping up here, just a couple of final items here. If you are interested in submitting your course to the Exemplary Course Program, there's information on Blackboard's website, and I encourage you just to check that out. With that, are there any questions that anybody might have? I want to pause and see if there are any questions. I'm also going to go ahead and put in the text chat as we're wrapping up today. I'm going to stop the recording at this point. I'm going to put in a copy of the course evaluation, and if you could complete that, I would really appreciate that. We value your feedback in planning future workshops.